welcome to the Lead Out Loud podcast. My name is Professor G. This is the real leadership edition, once again, of the podcast, or the podcart, depending on who you are. And speaking of who you are, I have with me again Mr. Eric Leonard James.
Hello, Professor.
Hello, Eric Leonard James, man with three names.
And you never trust a man with two first names, so
That's
imagine what a guy with three first names will give you.
Yeah. Look, everything that's said from here on out, everybody should just, roll the dice.
Roll it right out.
Just roll the dice.
Yeah,
you can take it. You can leave it. Well, we are here this day. I was going to say this evening, but nobody knows it's evening, but it is. I mean, who are we kidding?
It's evening somewhere.
It's evening. It's a Friday evening. This is how we hang out on Friday nights. We talk about vintage 80s movies that probably none of you care about, but that make me happy. And speaking of which, this movie makes me happy. Let me pull up my... oh, shoot. Did ChatGPT give me my... Oh, it did. Yeah. Let's see how ChatGPT does on the summary here.
All right.
This evening, on this episode, I should say, we are discussing Fletch, a classic 80s Chevy Chase film starring... Well, it stars Chevy Chase, but the main character is Irwin Fletcher, a Los Angeles investigative reporter with a knack for disguises and a sharp sense of humor. While undercover on a beach, posing as a drifter to expose a drug ring, he's approached by a wealthy man, played by Tim Matheson, who claims to be dying of cancer and offers Fletch a fortune to murder him. Smelling a bigger story, Fletch digs in. What follows is a fast-moving mix of deception, police corruption, and high society scandal. With his wit, charm, and endless aliases, Fletch unravels the truth while dodging danger at every turn. I just have to say, look, I grew up in the 80s. Let's put it that way. We don't want to name years. That's not what we do here. We're not year namers.
I don't like dates. They're like labels.
I mean, come on.
But age is just a number.
We don't want to trigger anybody. But look, I grew up in the 80s, and I love 80s movies. I love 80s music. This film embodies both of those things, and I'll talk in a moment about some of the connections to some other films we've done. But we can't talk about Fletch without talking about Harold Faltermeyer, because he does the music for it. He is, of course, famous for Beverly Hills Cop, another 80s film.
Very much so.
With the Axel F theme. He also did another little movie that some of you may have seen, and I just realized as I was doing the prep for tonight's episode, I didn't realize, or I forgot, I guess, we haven't done Top Gun yet. And Harold Faltermeyer, right? He's the one who wrote the Top Gun theme. So, epic.
No, as I'm watching it, so for those of you at home, this is my first time viewing Fletch.
A Fletch virgin.
Yes. And and as I'm watching the movie, I'm just like, I could close my eyes and instead of Chevy Chase, put in Eddie Murphy, and the soundtrack would sound like I wouldn't know the difference. It's very much iconic 80s, and now that you tell me that the composer was the same for both movies, like, oh, well, that absolutely makes sense.
Well, listen, since you just visualized it that way, let me bring up some fun movie trivia facts before we dive deeper into Fletch. Oh, that's the wrong screen. Hang on, I've got it here somewhere. One of the pieces of trivia that I uncovered, well, two I think that are interesting. First of all, this is apparently, according to Chevy Chase, his favorite role of his career. And I guess that leads us to, in a little bit, to some of the connections to other movies we've covered so far. So Chevy, we covered Three Amigos. Chevy Chase obviously starred in Three Amigos. And whilst that one was amusing, my personal favorite Chevy Chase film has to be Christmas Vacation, followed by probably the original Vacation. But Fletch is fantastic too, and it's interesting to me that this is his favorite. The reason apparently is because he basically got to play a version of himself. Like the character of Fletch was very much just Chevy Chase.
Yes. Yep. No, I completely, like, when he goes around and just all the little comedic nuances, not full on slapstick, but just enough. Like he's in the wife's, not the first wife, but the secret wife's home, and he's in the kitchen, and his head accidentally gets caught in the light fixture. It's like, yes, this is very Chevy Chase. It's like, and it reminded me of the older James Bond movies, where James Bond, for no reason, would just, like, he's about to walk out of a room and he takes a bunch of roses and just throws them out on top of the guy for no particular reason. It's like, it's random and funny and quirky, but in the case of Chevy Chase, it's purposely done for comedic effect.
Okay, I want to come back to James Bond here in a second, because I'll just say it now in case I forget. I wrote it down, okay, but the movie's clearly a spoof on spy films. Yes. Put a pin in that, though. Let's put a pin in that, okay, because where I was going is with your visualization. You said you could close your eyes and you're listening to the music. You could just see, Beverly Hills Cop there. But here's another fun piece of trivia. Can you close your eyes and imagine Burt Reynolds as Fletch?
Oh.
God rest his soul.
Yeah. All right.
How about Mick Jagger?
Wow. No. No.
Now, this one I could probably get behind. Richard Gere.
Okay. All right.
All were apparently considered before Chevy Chase landed the role.
I could see Burt Reynolds, just because he's done some little quirky comedic parts like that.
It would be a different film.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger, no. Burt Reynolds, I agree with you. I could see it happening, but it would be a different film.
Yeah, and Richard Gere, I don't, just because he's never, like, he's not a comedic actor in my mind.
Yeah.
I see him more as the wealthy businessman.
Oh, yes. Actually, yes. The Tim Matheson character.
Yes.
Okay. One more piece of trivia before we move on here back to what I put a pin in. The Lakers scenes apparently were shot during a real game with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the Showtime era team in action.
Okay.
So, in the movie, Fletch is portrayed as a pretty big basketball fan. In fact, at one point, he's talking to, Mrs. Stanwyck, the wife of the man who hired him to kill him, Fletch. Anyway, and in fact, the movie ends with him saying, he's going to teach her all about basketball. He wants to take her to a basketball game. So he's a basketball fan, and he's a Lakers fan. The movie takes place in Los Angeles. So I wonder. Actually, I should have looked this up. I wonder if Chevy Chase is a Lakers fan, and if there was kind of a connection there with the Lakers.
That wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I was at least two of his myriad of costumes in that movie are Lakers themed. One where he's wearing the Magic jersey, and then of course in the dream sequence where he's wearing a full Lakers outfit, and then there's a third scene towards the end where he's wearing a Lakers t-shirt that appears to have the signatures of the entire team on it.
The dream sequence you're referring to, of course, this movie has so many one-liners that I use on a weekly basis. I use at least a phrase from Fletch on a weekly basis, but the one that comes to mind, Fletch 6'1", 6'4" with the afro.
Yes.
And of course, in his dream sequence, Fletch has this giant afro, and he's playing with all the Lakers. Now, we now know that was an actual Laker game that they superimposed him into, apparently.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so a very quotable movie. I thought about writing them all down, but there'd be too many, so I imagine some of them are just going to come up as we're discussing the film. But it really is a satire, I think, of that James Bond. Again, this movie came out in, I don't think I said it, maybe I did, 1985. Yes. So, this is in the kind of the middle era of James Bond. We've gone beyond Sean Connery and Roger Moore by that time. I think we're into Timothy Dalton as Bond. So they weren't as good. But that genre of film, I mean, here's a guy, he's a newspaper reporter, but he's playing kind of a detective. He's also undercover. He does some things that are silly, maybe over the top, like you would see in a Bond or even a Mission Impossible movie for that matter.
Sure. No, as I was, like I say, having never watched it before, only seen like previews or little snippets, I had assumed that the Fletch character was a police detective. And so when they start out the movie saying that he's an investigative journalist, I'm like, okay, all right. Because I always assumed that it was a detective movie.
And trans, because, he writes under the name of Jane Doe.
Yes.
Listen, I have a note here that there are some very prescient moments in this film. Maybe that was one of them.
Yes.
We could go straight to those other notes if you want, but actually, because I said before we started rolling, I said, okay, that's right. This is the first time you've seen the movie. I'm not going to ask you any questions because I want to get it live on tape. So what were your? Yeah, we're doing it live. What were your thoughts about the movie?
It was classic Chevy Chase, like from soup to nuts. Just that weird, quirky, just funny, just a little bit of slapstick, but then, like you say, the classic one-liners. A lot of things that you probably couldn't get away with today. Certain, just the little one-liners where. Who was he talking to? He was talking to an ethnic individual, and he'd say like, "Come back, chicken," instead of like thanking them in Spanish. He'd
Are you talking about when he's at the country club?
Yes.
Oh, you could do that today. In fact, dude, this is my podcast, so I can cuss, right? I fucking used that line today. I swear to God, I did. One of my instructors texted me something, and I responded, and she texted back, "Muchas gracias," and I wrote back, "Tierra del Fuego." As soon as I did it, I'm like, I will be impressed if you know what movie that is from. She's a little bit younger than me, and she did not. And then when I told her, she's like, "I've never even heard of that movie."
Wow.
I said you're fired.
Yeah. Sorry, this
no.
is going to work out.
So look, here's the context. So Chevy Chase, he's following a lead. Basically, maybe we should just fill everybody in a little bit more than my description in the beginning. So the Tim Matheson character is Stanwyck. I forget his first name. And he hires Chevy Chase, or Chase's character, Fletch, Alan Stanwyck. Okay. Yes. So Stanwyck's been watching the beach for a while and notices Fletch, played by Chevy Chase, just loitering about and basically takes him for a drifter. And so he's trying to commit insurance fraud. And, he's trying to do a bunch of things, but it's framed as he's trying to commit insurance fraud. He tells Fletch he's dying of cancer, and he needs somebody to kill him because if he commits suicide, the policy won't be paid.
Right.
And so Fletch starts investigating this and realizes, wait, this guy doesn't have cancer. And then goes and finds his wife, who's at the country club, and she's playing tennis, and he's kind of watching, and one of the waiters walks up to him and says, "Excuse me, sir, are you a member here?" And he says, "Well, no, I'm a guest of the Underhills." Yes. Well, While he's watching Mrs. Stanwyck practicing tennis, he's overhearing Ted Underhill being a complete ass to the server. And so Fletch, being Fletch, is like, okay, I'm gonna get back at this guy. Yeah, I'm here with the Underhills. And the waiter says, oh, well, they left. And he says, don't worry, they'll be back. And the waiter says, well, senor, can I get you something to drink while you wait? I will charge it to the Underhills, which is another phrase I use almost every week. We'll just charge it to the Underhills. So Fletch starts ordering lobster and Bloody Marys and champagne and caviar and charges it all to the Underhills. Yep. And so when the waiters are bringing him stuff, they're speaking Spanish, oh, muchas gracias. And Fletch rattles off, Tierra del Fuego. And there's another line where they say something again in Spanish, and he says, Pop and taco.
Yeah.
Just walking out. I don't know. I think that's hilarious. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'll get canceled here, but in the context of current events, I think it's even funnier.
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the leadership in this film. And I will let you start. Okay. Oh, wait. No, you go ahead. We'll come back. I forgot to make the connections to some of the other films, but it'll come up as we're talking. Go ahead.
So for the most part, Fletch kind of works as a one-man wolf pack. But he's very resourceful. He's very quick on his feet. I think probably the strongest kind of leadership trope I see is when Gummy, the drug dealer on the beach, is getting arrested by what we learn to be some questionable police officers, and he makes a point of stepping up and stepping in for Gummy, saying, "No, this isn't right. What are you guys doing? He didn't do anything wrong," and even takes some abuse for trying to come to Gummy's aid. And so I kind of appreciated that leadership quality, because he had no reason to do that, but because he was Gummy's friend throughout this investigation that he's working on the beach, he stepped up for him and actually took a little bit of the brunt as a result.
And by brunt, I believe you're referring to when Fletch gets hauled in. They're waiting for him at his apartment, and they haul him into the station, and they're kind of shaking him down. They basically have planted some drugs on him, and down at the station, he says they're kind of they're rousting him, and he says, "Hey, I've got rights," and the cop goes, "Yeah, you got rights. You got the right to have your balls smashed in by me. You got the rights to have your face kicked in by him."
Even in the scene where Gummy's getting arrested, I think one of the cops pop him in the mouth. I think they punch him.
Yes, they do. Hang on, I'm getting an error message here. Stand by. My device is struggling to record. That's so sad. Okay. Yeah, so Fletch is the star of the show here from a leadership perspective, I think.
Right.
I mean, we can talk about some of the other elements here, but, he's got a lot of things. He has a lot of attributes that we like to see in leaders. He's able to build trust quickly.
Yes.
He cozies up to Mrs. Stanwyck right quick. He cozies up to the waiter at the country club. And I mean, kind of part of the way he does that, he's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. He sees that, okay, Underhill's an ass, so let me treat these guys well and use Underhill's money to do it. which of course they're happy for that.
Yes.
Fletch has a lot of confidence.
Yes.
He's quick thinking. He's cool under pressure. He's very independent and autonomous, maybe to a fault. He kind of tells his boss at the paper to shove it. I mean, not quite in so many words, but I mean, his editor, Frank, he needs the story, and he needs the story tomorrow. And Fletch just keeps pushing him off, kind of manhandling him a little bit, just sort of ignoring what he says.
Right. Yeah. No. My thought was the guy that probably has the least amount of leadership is the guy who's supposed to be the leader.
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of a pushover, right? I mean, because Fletch really does. Frank tells him no, and then Fletch says, Frank, the story is Provo, right? And all of a sudden now he's telling Fletch, all right, fine, go to travel and get an airplane ticket.
Right. Well, and this Fletch is clearly a talented or an established enough journalist that they're willing to do a full page ad about this article.
Teasing. Yeah.
Yeah, but when Fletch comes to him saying, I'm in some trouble, they're coming to my house, like his manager is kind of dismissive. I don't believe you. It's like, well, why would he lie to you? Like, yes, Fletch is, he's a jokester, right? But you can tell, or I feel like me as the viewer can tell, when Fletch is making a little one-liner or a quip versus when he's being sincere, and yet his manager doesn't pick up on that.
Yeah. He's I mean, look, the manager is playing a very straight managerial role.
Yes.
He's a middle manager, obviously, right? So like he's been given the directive, fill the newspaper or run a certain amount of these exposés or whatever it is. He's very narrowly focused. No, Fletch, we already ran the ad. Like, he really didn't talk to Fletch ahead of time before he ran the ad to say, hey, we're running this on Sunday, and we just, right? So, like, he's doing what he's told, and he's not really a think for yourselfer because, again, even Fletch, even his subordinate is able to sort of twist his perspective and twist his thinking on things, and he just goes, yeah, okay, fine, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Now, of course, it's Fletch, so it all works out, and he's the star of the show, so why wouldn't it?
Well, his charisma alone is gets him out of any situation. So,
I mean, I love the part when he's running from the cops because he tells them he's going to drop it. Like, hey, man, your beach. He finds out that the cops are in on it, right? The cops are in on this whole drug thing. Like, both of these stories come together. I guess we should have said that for people that haven't seen the movie. Both of these stories come together. Spoiler alert, Alan Stanwyck's been transporting drugs in his private plane from South America, and he's the one bringing the drugs to the guys on the beach, which the cops are also in on it, so they're providing cover for the guys on the beach, and so they don't like Fletch sniffing around because he's going to expose everything.
Right.
So Fletch says, okay, fine, look, I'll drop it, but then of course he doesn't, and so he comes back and the cops are waiting for him. And he jumps in a car with this kid. This kid's sitting in the car, and he tells him, "Hey, look, I'm with the EPA or something like that. Look, move over. We gotta test this thing for the fluorocarbons. We got to get it up to 84, and check out the ozone emissions." And of course, it turns out the kid stole the car. It's not even his. And this is where I wrote down there were some prescient moments because the kid goes, "You going to take me in for stealing the car?" And Fletch goes, "Why'd you steal it?" And he goes, "I sure did." And then Fletch goes, I don't even think that's a crime anymore.
Yes.
And of course, here in California, that's not entirely far from the truth. I mean,
That's
we've
right.
kind of decriminalized a lot of that. And then so they go on this little police chase, and it ends, and then Fletch jumps out of the car and he heads into this hall. And here's another moment where he's just like very confident, very quick thinking. He grabs a catering tray and he's walking through the kitchen. And this is, I think, where he says "Pop and Taco" because they're all speaking Spanish. And he's just trying to fit in, right, and just make noises. And then he walks into this thing, and it's some kind of a, I don't know, Foreign Legion or Police Protective League event.
Right.
And, of course, the cops see him go in here. So now they're converging, and he's got to think quickly. So this one you probably couldn't get away with today.
Yeah.
It's a black guy up on the stage, and he's about to introduce somebody, and he says, he's going, and it's my pleasure to introduce, and Fletch jumps up and says, "Thank you, Sammy, that's enough, I'll take it from here," which I'm assuming is a reference to Sammy Davis Jr. because the guy's black.
Yes.
And then Fletch just kind of takes over the situation and starts ad-libbing all this stuff. And basically, here's another prescient moment. Says, I'd really like to just give a shout out to this largely unsung profession. And he's talking about the cops because he wants everybody to go hug a cop so that they can slow them down so that he can get out the back.
Yes. I like that at one point he starts singing the national anthem and two of the cops take their hat off.
Yeah, which is kind of reminiscent of some of that National Lampoon stuff, right?
Yes. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Look, this was this is a fun movie. It's one of my favorites. It probably is not as deep and rich into some of the leadership themes as some of the other films we've done. But I mean, and the reason for that, I think, is because so much of the leadership takeaways are embodied in the one character of Fletch, for all the reasons I just kind of went through. That being said, what other themes, if any, did you pick up on?
Trying to think. Like I say, like you, just going back to his resourcefulness, his ability to think on his feet, talking about the bad guys, they kind of show their own antithesis of kind of leadership, or the negative side, the self-centered kind of power hungry type. To kind of show off that juxtaposition between Fletch and the antagonists.
Well, I guess it's probably worth mentioning again for people that haven't seen the movie. So the Tim Matheson character, Alan Stanwyck, who hired Fletch to kill him, his master plan was to kill Fletch. So he tells Fletch, he picked Fletch, it turns out, because he has roughly the same build, and nobody would miss him, or so he thinks, because he appears to be this drifter, and so he tells him he's going to hire him to kill him, but in reality, he's lying in wait, dressed like Fletch, and his plan is to kill Fletch, dispose of the body, and then take off to South America. So there's this kind of, I think it goes beyond arrogance, it's almost a narcissism amongst the really all of them, because it's Alan Stanwyck who's in league with the chief of police, and again the cops, like, they plant some stuff on Fletch. They're trying to manipulate the story and manipulate reality and get people to believe what they want them to believe so that they can continue to, of course, proceed and participate in these illicit activities and bringing all these drugs in.
Right.
How about I love when Fletch, you kind of brought this up, I think, earlier, when Fletch goes out to Utah and he's in he's in the other wife's house. So Alan Stanwyck, in addition to also all these other things, he's also a bigamist. He's married to two women, one in California and one in Utah. And Fletch is snooping around, and he's down on the ground looking under the bed, and this guy comes in, this like hillbilly guy comes in with a shotgun and says, "What are you doing?" Fletch jumps up. "I hate to pull rank on you here, but I'm with the mattress police, and I'm afraid that the tags have been removed from these mattresses."
That was another thing that I noticed about Fletch from a leadership standpoint is how he, in almost every situation, he is completely cool under pressure. He's in that particular scene. The guy's got a shotgun pointed at him, and he comes up with there's some tags off this mattress, and he's like, so then the dude with the gun's like, "Well, I'm going to call the police." "Well, yeah, go ahead and call the police, and then until he can kind of get him in a vulnerable moment. Then he kicks him in the man bits and runs down the stairs.
That's right. I think he tells him his shoe's untied, kicks him in the balls.
That's right.
Okay, so not a leadership attribute to ascribe to. We're not saying that good leaders kick people in the balls.
No.
But what we are saying is that good leaders are quick on their feet. And really, I don't know if I've used this word yet. I think you might have. I think the number one thing that we see in Fletch that good leaders do embody, it's adaptability.
Yes.
He goes in, he knows what his mission is. He's also very mission focused. He knows what his mission is. He's trying to uncover this story. And he doesn't let his boss get in the way. His boss is like, "No, just publish what you got." "No, I'm following up on this other lead, Frank." "No, publish what you got. Frank, the story is Provo. I got to go to Provo," right?
Right.
He's very mission focused. He's like a dog with a bone. And he's adaptable because when he thinks he knows what the story is and then he finds out new information, he just adapts. He goes out and he's interviewing Alan's parents in Utah, which is another funny scene. And Alan is in fact still alive. "Boy, what is the matter with you?" But he doesn't know. He assumes when he sees the other name, and now I can't think of what it is, the other wife's name, he assumes it's like a mistress. And so he asks the parents, he's like, "Well, what's this we've been hearing? There's some information that he's with, hanging out with this other woman." They go, "Yeah, you mean his wife?" Fletch is like, "Wait, what?" But he doesn't let on. He adapts. He starts rolling around, and then he just goes on to okay, what am I going to do about this now?
Right. Even at the very beginning of the movie, like he's focused on the drugs at the beach, and
right.
And this random guy in a suit comes up and says, "I got a proposition," and right off the bat, he's like, "Okay, this is a story. I don't know what the story is, but I'm going to follow it for a little bit and see what happens."
Yes.
To your point, I think I said pivot earlier, but adaptability is probably a better term.
Look, I gave you credit for adaptability.
Well, I'm throwing it back at you. So
thank you.
Can I throw out one other thing? Are we still talking about leadership?
Let's do it.
I wanted to throw out one other non-leadership thing. Just a couple of notable actors that were not quite the big stars yet. With Gina Davis this movie came out a year before The Fly. I think that's when people really started to know who Gina Davis was. But she's got it's a good part and she plays it well, but it's a smaller assistant part where she's like a junior journalist at the paper and she kind of flirts with Fletch a little bit and helps him out when he needs it there in the office. But
I love your body, Larry.
Yep. And then the other one was Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince. He plays one of the detectives earlier in the movie.
I didn't even pick up on that one.
Yeah.
And we didn't mention. Okay, so wait. Let's go back to Gina Davis. So let's do 3 degrees of real leadership podcast here. Gina Davis was in A League of Their Own, which
Yes.
we have done on
Okay.
this show. Stepping aside from that for a second, George Wendt plays Fat Sam, so from Cheers. I don't think we've done anything with him in it before. I missed the connection to the Fresh Prince. We haven't done anything from that, though. But Tim Matheson,
Yes.
Tim Matheson was in the one we just did. What did we just do? Van Wilder.
Van Wilder.
So he played Van's dad. Dana Wheeler Nicholson. Let's see if you knew this. I actually did not know this. Dana Wheeler Nicholson plays Gail Stanwyck, which is Alan's wife.
Okay.
And she's the one that's doing the tennis at the tennis club that
Right.
Fletch basically by the end of the movie, Fletch and Mrs. Stanwyck get together because she's obviously not going to be married to Alan anymore. Dana Wheeler Nicholson was in another movie we did called
Okay.
Tombstone.
Oh, that's right.
And she played Mrs. Maddie Earp,
Yes. I saw
Wyatt
that.
Earp's wife. And I didn't pick up on it. Once I read it, I was like, of course. Like, now I see it. But she's so much younger in Fletch
Yeah.
that I just... And they did a really good job, actually, with her character in Tombstone, because, she's addicted to opium, and so they kind of make her look a little worn out. She's still pretty, but they make her look a little worn out in that movie.
Sure.
And they did a great job with it, to the point that I'd never even put those two things together. Let's see, were there any others? I guess...
Those were the ones that I caught. There's probably more.
I mean, look, Joe Don Baker has been in a bunch of stuff. I don't think he's been in anything that we've covered, but he was in a couple of the James Bond movies, speaking of, spy films.
Okay.
Emmett Walsh, though. Emmett Walsh, so he has not been in anything that we have covered, but he plays the doctor.
Yes.
He plays the doctor that there's another famous scene, in fact, that's probably the most famous scene from Fletch is, he's trying to get information about Alan to find out if he really has cancer. So he finds Alan's doctor and he makes an appointment to see him, tells him his pancreas is hurting or something like that. And he ends up with a rectal exam. The doctor's like, okay, drop your drawers and bend over. And he's like, you know what? I'm feeling better already. And he goes, oh, just relax. And he goes back there, and Fletch is like mid-sentence, I was just wondering, Moon River.
Like 5 seconds later, doctor, you got the whole fist up there?
You got the whole fist. You ever serve time? I think he says, you ever serve time?
Oh, shoot.
Anyway, I started to say Emmett Walsh was in one of our favorite Christmas movies with Tim Allen, Christmas with the Cranks. He plays the neighbor across the street.
He's one of those actors where if you saw his face, you're like, oh yeah, that guy, because he's had so many smaller parts, and you don't necessarily know his name, but you know his face.
I think maybe we can leave everybody perhaps with this thought. So I looked up a while ago because sometimes it comes up in the descriptions. They say, oh yeah, so and so is a great character actor, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like, isn't every actor a character actor? They're playing a character. What does that phrase mean?
Yeah,
I looked it up. Do you know what it means?
I don't.
So I think Emmett Walsh is a good example of this.
Okay.
A character actor is somebody who is well known, but doesn't have the leading role.
Okay.
So like J.K. Simmons is another one where he plays a lot of supporting characters, and so you know who they are. Like they're very well known characters, but they're not necessarily the lead. Now he did
Yes.
Whiplash, which one could argue maybe he was there, but yeah. So it's actors that are they play well-known roles, but they're not the lead. That is what the term character actor refers to.
Okay.
So there you
Yes,
go.
I would agree that
the more
he's
you know.
exactly that. He's that character actor. That's a very good example.
I mean, even you could probably say the same thing about Dana Wheeler Nicholson. Hell, Tim Matheson, for that matter.
Yes. Yep.
You know,
Good
I
call.
mean, you know who Tim Matheson is, but did he carry the lead on anything? We'd have to definitely go look it up. I mean,
Right.
So I think by that definition, no. Okay, I guess let's see. We should probably do the thing we always do. We'll land the plane here with this. If you could take one of these characters aside, and once again, I know I'm going to ask this question, and I haven't thought about it myself at all. If you could take one of these characters aside and give them some leadership advice, who would it be, and what would you say?
Well, we covered it. We covered a little bit already, but I definitely go back to Fletch's manager. That you have an you clearly have a guy who's talented. Just listen to him, like work with him. Let's assume that he knows what he's doing for a minute, and not bark at him, and then just fire him while he's at the airport. Like let's give him a little bit of a minute, and along the same lines with some of the other, like he's literally barking at Gina Davis throughout the movie, and it's like, come on, I feel like you could do better.
That's a good one. I mean, that's probably the best one. So I guess in the interest of not using that, maybe I would pull Larry aside. So that Gina Davis's character's name is Larry, which is of course funny because Fletch will be on the phone talking to her, and people don't have the benefit of seeing who he's talking to. They just hear him say things like, "I love your body, Larry." Which you could probably still get away with that in a movie today, but you can't get away with that in the workplace anymore.
Right.
That would be a harassment suit. Anyway, I probably would say, listen, Larry, go get another job. You're very competent. You're very helpful. Don't let Fletch push you around. Listen, if you're going to be the person that scratches Fletch's back while he's looking at the microfiche that you got for him out of the research room, then you should at least be getting more money.
Yes.
Have some confidence. Like, go, girl.
Yes. And I feel like there's a little bit of like very much 80s workplace mentality there. Kind of that old school.
For sure.
Yeah, you put in the grind, you do your time, and eventually you climb the ladder. And I think, that along with everything else that's very 80s in this movie, that work dynamic is up front and center.
Which, of course, brings us back to what I call the big lie. Just go to work, do a good job, put in your time, and good things will happen.
Right.
That's complete horse shit.
Yes.
Which is maybe the topic for another episode. I don't know. But you're right. There's look, that's why I love the movie. It's an 80s vibe through and through.
Yes.
From the portrayals of the workplace to the characters, to the styles, to the music. I love the genre. I don't apologize for it. And you're going to see some more of it. Mr. Eric Leonard James, thank you once again for joining me for another Real Leadership edition of the LOL podcast.
Thank you, Professor.
The pleasure was all mine.